Let's talk about how to pass your EY video interview. What's up guys, it's Mike from Job Ready English. Today we're going to be talking about how to pass your EY video interview, one of the big four and one of the largest professional services companies in the world. Before we get started, I would love to know where you're watching this video from. Drop me a comment down below and let me know what country you're watching the video from. And if you haven't already, make sure that you subscribe to the channel and like the video, as this helps more people find our videos and gets us out there. And it's just a little way of saying thanks for the free content. So let's talk about EY, and we're going to go through 5 fast facts about the company that you can use for why you want to work for EY. I'm going to talk about the interview format. I'm going to go through some of the most common questions that was asked in the EY video interview that you can use to prepare for, and how I would think about preparing for those questions. And I'm going to be going through a special case because EY's job simulation has a number of scenario-based video interview questions. If you're not familiar with these, stick around until that part of the video, because I'm going to be going through an example taken straight from the EY Pass the Interview course, where I break down how to answer a question like this step by step. Let's get started. EY UK audits over 20% of the FTSE 350 and 25% of the FTSE 100. At any given time in the UK, EY is training 3,500 students. Quite an astonishing figure when you think about it, considering EY has 20,000 staff. Last year, EY launched a $1.4 billion global investment in AI through its platform EY.AI. In 2024, EY's net revenue increased 3% to £3.7 billion. EY has a number of charitable efforts. Its EY Ripple network has impacted over 5 million people, and a small example of the impact it has is through the Felix project, where it distributed 13,000 meals in London. Okay, so what can you expect from the EY video interview process? So we go through publicly available sources going back over the past 6 months to really see what candidates have said about the process. EY is quite similar to PwC and Deloitte, but probably a little bit more grueling, if I'm honest. Doing something which is called a job simulation. Now this is a 1-hour test, which is a mixture of motivational questions, some written response questions, situational or scenario-based video interview questions, questions related to the role, maths questions and logic questions. Quite a few of the candidates reported that it's a really exhausting process because it is full on for an hour. Now, candidates reported a different number of questions and a different makeup in terms of what's contained within the test. So we propose that EY has constructed their HireVue one-way video interview job simulation, quite similar to Deloitte, in the sense that it is structured slightly differently based upon the role, but there's not too much differentiation. And we found that there were anywhere between 2 to 6 video interview questions, depending on the role, with apprentices reporting 2 questions and graduates reporting up to 6 questions. So let's have a look at the 7 most common questions and how we would think about answering them. Question number 1, why do you want to work for EY? Now, when you're answering the motivational question about why you want to work for a company, we're looking for a level of research which is similar to the facts that I gave you earlier. Now, of course, I've given you those for free in our EY Pass the Interview pack. We've given you over 100 facts taken from different reports that EY has produced, but we're looking for a level of specificity, which means that you could not say this fact about anybody else. Now, if we're assuming that you would get 2 minutes to answer this question, I would find 5 facts. 5 or 6 facts, people talk at a different speed, and as a bonus point, find a fact that means something personally to you. For example, when I talked about the Felix project, feeding people who are homeless or in need is something that has a deep meaning and resonance to me due to, how I grew up and also how homelessness has affected people that I know. Question 2, why do you want to do this role? So whether you're applying for audit, tax, advisory, or deals, or one of the many roles that are contained within those 4 divisions, you should have a really clear idea about what you're going to do on a daily basis. This is going to be the first part of your answer. It's really going to help the algorithm pick up that you understand the keywords that are in the job description. More than likely, having looked at a number of EY job descriptions, they're not that helpful, so you might have to go somewhere else to do your research. I often recommend prospects.ac.uk because it is a phenomenal government-funded resource which gives you so much information about the role. You also want to mention what are the key skills that you would need, and in the second half of your answer, provide 2 or 3 skills with proof. For example, if you're applying for audit, you might say, I've got excellent numeracy, I've got great attention to detail, and I've got great Excel skills because I used it for 3 years during my university degree. Question 3, why have you chosen this location? Now, this was quite interesting to me because very often companies sometimes will ask why you've chosen not to work in London, but this seemed to come up quite frequently about why have you chosen London, Reading, Manchester, and so on and so forth. I think the best way to answer this question is really just to be honest and speak about the things that move you about the place. A lot of people, when I speak to them and they choose to apply outside of London, is because London is quite expensive, it's very busy, it's cramped. The standard of living in all respects, not just rent, also food and going out, just very high. And there are some people who just think, do you know what? I'd rather just go east, west, north, even south, and probably I'm going to get paid a couple of £1,000 less, but everything's going to cost half. So that's the reason why I want to do it. If not, you might want to pick out 2 or 3 interesting facts about the place where you want to work. There's no need for you to go over the top and say about how you've always wanted to work in Leeds and it was your dream since you're a small child. That's probably not true. No disrespect to Leeds. Question 4, what are your motivations for working here compared to the other big 4? Now, this was a question that was asked numerous times, so I think it's well worth preparing for. What you would really want to do is make sure that you have good facts prepared about EY. So it's not about talking about why Deloitte, PwC, KPMG are no good. That is also too much research in terms of just talking about comparisons. But if, for example, you talked about EY's Ripple initiative, which has impacted over 5 million people, that's a big deal. That's something that's specific to EY, and it might be something that appeals to you. If it's to do with the fact that EY wants a certain percentage of its partners to be female by a certain year, that might be something that appeals to you. So again, perhaps you want to pick out a couple more facts based upon your research to make sure that you're really clear about why EY is different and zero in on those facts rather than comparing it to the rest of the big 4 instead of saying, for example, EY wants this percentage of female partners by this year and KPMG wants this and Deloitte and PwC. That's something that people often think about when they're talking about a comparison, but we're really just zooming in on what makes EY great and say, that's why I've chosen EY over the rest of the big 4. Question number 5, how would you deal with a difficult client? Now, professional or services work is client work. It's driven by dealing with different people, different company, different levels of management, and generally lots of different people within another company. EY is going to be working with some of the largest companies in the UK and around the world. When you're dealing with a difficult client, first of all, it's really important to understand and appreciate why are they being difficult? Are they being actively rude and obnoxious? Are they withholding information from you? Are they just not being communicative? So we need to clearly identify the problem. The next thing that we want to do is we want to be as proactive as possible. A very common problem that a lot of people face when they're working with clients in professional services consulting, I've had this problem myself, is that your client wants different things to what you want. Now, you might talk to them, but they may be like, oh, look, I'm too busy. I mean, I feel sorry, my accountants have the same problem with me because they'll chase me for information, but I'm busy making videos or doing consults or doing something else with another business. So what that means is, number 1, just being persistent. Sometimes it's about picking up the phone. It's about understanding where the client is coming from. And also really importantly, it's about not taking it personally. Even if a client is rude, defensive, arrogant. The public you is not the real you. You are just a representation of a company. It's kind of like if you go into a bank and you're really upset because your bank hasn't paid a certain amount of money to somebody else. You're not angry at the person, you're angry at the bank, but the person is a representation of the bank, i.e. the public person is not the actual person. You're not angry at Margaret just because she's Margaret. You're angry at Margaret because she happens to be the person who's in front of you. And very often what this means is about listening to the other person, allowing the situation to de-escalate, communicating about how you're going to solve the problem, and if all else fails, it's just escalating the matter. Just passing it on to your manager or whoever's in charge or another one of your colleagues and say, look, this is all the things that I've tried. I don't seem to be making any headway. Can you give me some advice about what to do next? Or is it possible that you can jump in and help me out? Question number 6. How will AI affect your service line? Now, something that I'm quite mindful of is that there is probably going to be at least one question which relates to your role. Now, it could be about what you're expected to do or why you're interested in the role, but also there were a number of different commercial awareness questions that came up. Now, there are 2 ways for me of preparing for commercial awareness. Number 1 is thinking about business news that's affecting your industry. And number 2 is thinking about technology and AI and how that's affecting your industry. Now, in both cases, choose something which is small, microeconomic if possible, not macros in how is AI going to affect the global workforce? Or I mean, holy crap, how long have you got? I certainly can't answer that question with any confidence in 2 minutes or less without dithering and going all over the place. But if you're talking about this is how AI has helped a specific company do a specific thing, that's what I mean about microeconomic. Just talking about something that's specific, easy to explain, and something that you are genuinely interested in. Now, this last point is really important because sometimes when I'm preparing people for interviews one-to-one, they will start to talk about something which is clearly boring to them. They're not really that interested. They're just reeling off some facts and figures, and you can almost see them thinking about dinner while they're giving their answer. Pick something which you genuinely find interesting because that's going to come across in your answer. Question number 7, how do you manage multiple deadlines? Now, this is a common problem for somebody who's working in a professional services environment. Now, when you're answering this, you're going to think about doing this in a STAR format: situation, task, action, result. Where were you? What were you doing? What did you do specifically? What happened? What's the result? Now, the majority of your answer should be based around action. I would say 70% of your answer at the least. What you're really looking for when you're talking about multiple deadlines, what I tend to find, so this might be probably 3 things. 2's not really enough. 4's maybe too many for you to cover in 2 minutes. And when you're talking about it, imagine that you're teaching somebody to do the thing that you have just done. Very often when people just talk about it, they leave out a lot of the details and say, well, I had these 3 things to do and then I did this and this and then it was done. It's like, okay, I feel like you missed out a big part of the story. But when you're teaching someone, you're like, right, okay, so if you have 3 things to do, first you're going to do A, and then you're going to do B, then C, and then, so when you're teaching, you naturally think about the steps that it takes to do the thing that you're trying to teach that person to do. Next up, I want to talk about scenario-based questions. Now, when I redid the Pass the Interview courses for 2025, big change that I have seen, especially over the past 2 years, is the rise of what I call scenario-based video interview questions. So this is where a scenario is posed and you have to answer the question going through how you would handle the scenario. I also call them video-based SJT questions. And I noticed it's something that nobody really addresses because they're a little bit tricky and there's a certain amount of work that goes into it. Now, in the EY Pass the Interview course, I have provided quite a large booklet as well as walkthrough videos with 15 questions. And here I want to provide you with one of the questions and a walkthrough answer so you can get an idea about how to answer these questions. So let's run through the question together. As part of an internal audit team, you must present a detailed financial analysis of a multinational corporation. The report covers several years of complex data, intricate regulations and key financial metrics that affect strategic decisions. Your audience includes senior management, board members, and department heads from various areas, many of whom are not financial experts. The presentation is set for a quarterly review meeting with over 100 people in attendance. In addition, you know that previous presentations on similar topics have left some stakeholders confused, leading to follow-up meetings and delays in decision making. With this in mind, you want to ensure that your report not only delivers accurate data, but also tells a clear story that highlights the implications of the analysis for the business. Your challenge is to make the technical details accessible while maintaining credibility and precision. Your answer should include 1. How would you simplify your report and presentation style? 2. Techniques you would use to explain complex data in simple terms. 3. Why clear communication is key for everyone to understand the information. Now in the course, first of all, I teach a 6-step structure, which is what is the problem, what's the result you need to achieve, who's involved, what's best for the client, do I have all the information I need, and how can I deliver maximum value. Now this is a really good way of breaking down these types of questions. Now, you might be sitting there and saying, well, yeah, but that's really time consuming, isn't it? It is. But once you learn how to do these types of questions, this is something that you start to do automatically. Once we've done that, we can turn it into a complete answer, which is 3 parts. What's the problem and who's involved? What do I need to do? And how can I deliver maximum value? The challenge is to make a complex financial analysis easy to understand for everyone. The audience includes technical experts, senior managers, and board members without specialization. The best approach for the client is a clear, well-organized presentation. It should clear up confusion and aid in making informed choices. By cutting out unnecessary jargon and focusing on key insights, the presentation can empower stakeholders. They need to grasp the key trend and what the data means for strategy. This understanding shows how the findings lead to business opportunities or needed changes. I will redesign the presentation to give more value. I'll use simple visuals like charts, infographics, and bullet points. These will turn complex information into simple, easy to understand pieces. I will use stories and analogies to link financial ideas to everyday business problems. This will make them more relatable. I will invite questions and make the session interactive. This encourages dialogue and helps confirm understanding. Before the presentation, I will ask a small test audience for feedback to improve the delivery. I make sure the audience gets a clear and actionable view of the data. This will help them to make smart choices that lead to success. It also shows our dedication to clear and precise communication. Now, if you want to know any more about how to answer those questions, make sure you check out the Pass the Interview course. I created 15 questions, a 47-page booklet, and walkthrough videos. And there's so much more in that course as well. Guys, I hope that you've enjoyed this video. Please drop me a comment down below. Let me know when you're interviewing or what company you'd like me to cover next. I'd love to hear from you. I read all the comments and I reply to all of them, as long as they're not super mean, which some of them are. Have a great interview, good luck, and I'll see you next time. Bye.